Alright, we are live. Hey guys, this is Brad Mike with Dallas Geek, and it's been a minute. Little bit.
Yeah.
So
it's been a couple months.
it's been a thing.
How you been?
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really funny, your little post on our Facebook. Like, hey, our surprise hiatus. Because we didn't even know. It was more so a surprise to us than anybody else, because we called each other a couple days after Christmas and we're like, holy crap, we haven't done anything in like 2 months for the web show. We should probably get on that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but we recognized that we had to come back from our hiatus in 2020 because My Chemical Romance came back from theirs in 2019, and we just couldn't upstage that. So.
That's what you're going with?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you see the teases they've been dropping of a U.S. tour?
No, I haven't.
We will be going.
Okay. But yeah, so...
And I do think it's appropriate that I had black fingernails when they announced their comeback. I was like, oh my god, it's like
But does it count as appropriate timing if that's just normal for you?
It felt right. Everything felt right with the world at that point. Even though the president's getting impeached.
No politics.
No.
We already have to worry about toxic fanboys. We don't need to touch politics. That's
Can I at least
that's terrifying.
Can I at least explain the impeachment process? Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, no, the long and short of it is, yeah, we had a lot of family stuff, a lot of personal stuff that came up around the holidays, and we both got a little sidetracked.
Work took me out of.
There may have been
for a while.
There may have been a touch of burnout as well. It happens.
Not with this.
Just life.
Yes.
Yeah, life. So we are coming back, rested, and we are back to things sort of as normal.
Yeah. There were a lot of days during the break where if I didn't work, I wasn't waking up till 11:30 or noon.
Which is, good for you.
Yes. It was needed.
But yeah, so now that we're back, we are going to be having a few format changes. But before we go into that, if this is the first time that you've watched us, thank you for joining us.
For those repeat viewers, thanks for coming back.
And if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe down below. And if Facebook,
it's been so long, I don't remember where everything is.
So,
but yeah.
Now the new format. We're going to be changing up a couple things about the show. First off,
My haircut.
First, we're going to be...
Somebody had to be the pretty one, and I felt like I should take that responsibility.
What? Huh?
You're the technician. I'm the on-air talent.
Fair. But yeah, so we're going to be pulling back from posting every week to every other week, which is going to be the first and third Fridays of every month. And the reason for that is we kind of realized that we put so much time last year into trying to cover events and actually editing all the videos that we got from events and trying to come up with new live stream ideas and just all this stuff for the show, and we forgot that we also need to be making time for the business side of the show. That thing that will let us actually bring more content to you guys and cooler content. Maybe eventually even hire a separate editor that's not me. Who knows?
That would be lovely.
But yeah, so we're kind of going to be pulling back to 2 videos a month, just so that we can put a little bit more time into the actual business of Dallas Geek. And in the meantime, we are also going to be putting out a once a month, last Saturday of the month live stream.
Or Sunday.
hopefully Saturdays.
Yeah.
Sometimes Sundays, but mostly Saturdays.
Right.
Where it's going to be an actual proper live show with, scripts and everything that are going to be a recap of all the nerdy stuff that's happened over the past month, especially all the stuff that happened here in North Texas,
right,
and giving a bit of a look forward into the next month to say what is coming up that you need to know about.
Right.
So,
we're also going to have my soapbox ranting moment.
Not that we really need to make too much excuse for that, but
no, but we're gonna have an actual segment now, so I actually have a reason to go off kilter and get on my soapbox and screech the end is nigh.
Go figure.
Yep.
But no, it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll even be attempting to bring on semi-regular guests to be able to introduce you guys to even more awesome people in the nerdy community around here, and get you caught up in all the things you should know.
Some repeat guests as well.
Oh yeah.
Friends of ours that we really like having on, that you guys seem to like having on. Some new people. Some people that we're going to agree with on a whole lot. Some people we're not going to agree with on a whole lot. The Star Wars one's going to be fun if we can get who I want to get. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, that's...
If you're watching this, you know who you are. Expect my call soon.
That'll definitely be something.
That is going to be fun.
Strong opinions all around.
Oh, yes. I don't know if we can do that one live, though. I feel like there'll be a lot of F-bombs.
Well, now that we actually have upgraded our setup with this nifty little stream deck and everything,
Please tell me we can go 5-second delay.
Can go 5-second delay if I can figure out how. Yes! And the little censor button. So that'll be a thing. Be able to try to censor live. Try being the optimal word. But
you don't realize the power that you have given me.
I may be regretting this, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, you will regret this.
So, yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of really cool things, and hopefully, if we can work out a couple of the things that we really want to try to do for this year, we'll be able to bring you guys some awesome content that we have been trying to get for a while, but we might actually have a shot this year. So. We'll see what happens.
Some stuff that we've really wanted to do for a while. Logistics just haven't been there yet, but this kind of feels like an all-in kind of year for us.
Yep.
You and I have kind of talked about that.
We're going to see what happens, but hopefully, if things go the way we're hoping, big things coming.
And hopefully you'll see us at the conventions that you saw us at last year, but there's also maybe one or two that we're going to be putting in press credentials for, so fingers crossed. There's one that I really want.
Yep.
But I'm not going to say it out loud because I want it to be a surprise if we get to go.
All right. So, with that said, you now know...
Good night, everybody.
You now know when we're going to be posting. You now know when we're going to be going live and how we're going to be doing it. So, let's jump into the actual stream for the day.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today?
2019. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of nerdy stuff.
Do you know the president's getting impeached?
There's a lot of nerdy stuff, not a lot of terrifying things.
I mean, I feel like
we don't need to talk politics. That's no.
I feel like you have to be a nerd to know the entire impeachment process.
You do, but you have to be insane to talk about it to the internet.
Why? The internet is a rational place where people have sound discussion and nobody gets overly...
I mean, our fans are.
I'm totally kidding.
I mean, our fans are, mostly.
The internet is a cesspool.
Anyway,
you all know who you are. You're all awful people.
Don't tempt them. Don't tempt the internet.
I thought you were gonna say don't demean people by comparing them to people.
No. We don't need to tempt the internet. You start threatening and teasing the internet, they get back at you. We don't need that.
No, it's okay. We've been nice to Disney, so everything will be fine.
Disney's not the internet. Disney's the
saying
world,
that the internet's
but it's
more
not the
powerful
internet.
than the internet?
The crazies on the internet? Yes.
I think you underestimate the mouse. I don't. Please don't hurt me, Mr. Mouse.
Anyway,
yeah.
2019. So,
2019 was busy for us.
Yeah, to start off with, we're going to talk about all the stuff that we actually did for the year, which we didn't really realize how much we had done until we started talking about it, and it was a lot.
I mean, technically, our year kind of technically started with a live stream because we did your 2018 New Year's Eve here at the house with a bunch of our friends, and like from there it just
kind of snowballed.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. Like when we came up for the idea for like, let's do our 2019 year in review. Like, all right, cool, let's look at all the stuff that we did. We're on the phone, and like an hour later, we're just like, holy crap, I can't believe we did all of that stuff.
So we're not even going to bother touching on all the different live streams that we did last year, because we did a lot of those. And some were successful. Others went a little sidetracked.
And then, of course, we had the 2.5 hour long. You say that's sidetracked. I still think that's my favorite live stream that we've ever done, though. The top 10 slasher films.
Oh, there was a lot of sidetracking on that one, but we'll actually talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, that was a fun
one. But the first big event that we actually covered for the year was the Dallas Museum of Art, Second Thursday with a Twist. They invited us in to be guest speakers for their Star Trek night.
No, I mean, it was mainly you.
Yeah.
You did the speaking. You did the speaking. I just stood there and looked pretty.
Yeah, did a little mini TED Talk on the impact of Star Trek on modern culture. And it was dope. That was a really fun.
That was a really fun outing. Met a lot of cool people.
Yep.
We actually ran into somebody at Anime Fest. We ran into a couple people that were actually there at the DMA thing. They were like, recognized us and were like, "Oh, hey, you guys did the thing at the DMA." We're like, "Oh yeah, we did. Holy crap!" Like, that's pretty cool that you recognize us.
Yeah. And if you haven't actually seen that video, after we're done with the live stream, I will be linking that down in the description below. So if you're on YouTube, be sure to check that out after the stream, or if you're watching this in the repeat, just go down now. But okay, maybe not now. Maybe more like after you finish watching this video, and then jump over to Anyway,
good save.
No, we had a lot of fun though. Had a chance to meet some great people that work over at the museum, and just it was a great night all around.
Hopefully we'll get to do another one or two of those again this year.
Yeah,
we'll have to reach out to them. But that was a really fun event. That was a really fun event. If you guys don't do the Second Thursdays with a Twist, you guys need to. Yeah.
So that was back in March, and then our next big event that we did was May 3rd through 5th for Fan Expo Dallas.
Yep.
And
we were invited back again to be.
That was crazy.
And
that was very crazy.
They really gave us a lot of access to stuff that I was like, why are they doing this?
Well, they gave us a lot of access, and there's the potential for even more access if we come back.
Fingers crossed.
So hopefully we'll see what happens there. Yeah. But Fan Expo, honestly, I know that within the North Texas nerdy community, there are a lot of mixed feelings about big conventions like Fan Expo, because there's always going to be that mentality of, well, it's the sellout convention because there's so much money there. Honestly, if you are a nerd and just want to see a lot of nerdy things and meet a lot of cool actors that you've seen and other creatives in the nerdy space, it's one of the best around to go check out.
There's something for everybody at Fan Expo.
Yeah,
like that's what's so cool about
literally
Expo.
Something for everybody.
Is like it's big enough that like it encompasses everything: sci-fi, horror, comics. There's tattoo artists.
Yeah,
like there is legit anything and everything to do at that convention.
Yeah, no, it's honestly,
and it's busy.
It's one of my favorite of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And depending on what all's happening there, it sometimes becomes my favorite of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think it's as big as it is, it's also one of the conventions that, in my mind, has the most potential to continue to grow and expand into something even more.
Right.
So yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we were like, Christopher Lloyd was literally just walking around at the end of the day. We were 5 feet from him.
Yeah, we did not talk to him because we were a little terrified.
Yeah. More than
because it's Christopher Lloyd, but it was just awesome.
That was one of those where I was just like,
yeah. But then moving on from there, the next event was the start of the busy time for us. So end of June was A-Kon. Last year was a bit of an odd year for A-Kon. We were only able to make it out for one day, but it was held at the over at the
Fort Worth?
no, it's over at Fair Park.
that's right.
Yeah. And over on the fairgrounds,
It was at Fort Worth the year before.
Yeah,
and they moved it back to
It
Dallas.
used to be at Fort Worth for several years, and then came over here due to some behind-the-scenes issues with the city of Fort Worth and stuff and things, and now they're back in Dallas where they started.
Right.
And while last year, if you attended, it was a bit of a chaotic mess.
Cluster.
I mean, there's nothing like having an outdoor convention at the end of June in Texas,
in North Texas,
surrounded by nothing but concrete. That's
Yeah.
But that's actually been fixed for this year. They actually made the announcement that it will be held at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center.
Nice.
So I haven't seen if they've released the convention map yet to see how much the convention center they're taking
up.
But
at least
it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least as much as Fan Expo takes up, just because normally they are a massive convention.
Because they usually take up like several hotels when they're downtown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they took up for the year before last, and then the year before that, they took up the entire Fort Worth Convention Center, the Coliseum, for their gaming tournaments, and a decent amount of the Omni hotel across the street. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they took up just as much as Fan Expo or more. But, yeah,
we shall see.
It'll be interesting. But yeah, so can't really say too much about A-Kon since we were only there for one day, but it was fun. They had some different kind of things there than what you would normally see at a lot of the other conventions. My favorite, which you missed out on, was sword fighting. Like 4-on-4 sword fighting. Yeah, they had the
nerds. Got it.
Yeah, like they had the giant foam weapons.
They were LARPing.
Different types.
Yeah, okay.
And it was a battle royale in a roped off space where people got to beat the crap out of each other. And it was awesome.
See, if this was in 2019 and everybody wasn't so hypersensitive, they would have given them real swords.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And people would have jumped in on that too.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. But they had a lot of cool stuff. They had a full arcade there. They had a massive tabletop space. Just so many cool things.
Yep.
But then after that, we had a bit of a smaller event that we covered, which was the Magic the Gathering pre-release over at Doc's Comics and Games.
Yeah.
Which, if you have never been to Doc's up in Frisco,
you just about to say Fort Worth?
Nope, definitely not. Up in Frisco, it is really fun. It's a nice little niche comic and game shop that is just behind the Stonebriar Mall, and Yeah, honestly,
Like, they do everything. Magic nights, Pokemon nights, Yu-Gi-Oh nights. They have comics, comic release nights.
fantastic staff.
D&D nights. The staff is awesome.
Yeah, incredibly knowledgeable staff.
Yeah, like anytime I go in there to pick my comics up or just peruse, like I'm always in there for a good like 30 minutes to an hour, just kind of yucking it up and talking with them.
Oh yeah, and of course Doc is just fun. The guy that owns the store. If you get the chance to talk to him, which if he's in store, you usually can.
Yeah, but say he will be everywhere, running around talking to everybody. He's
definitely the kind of guy that you can tell just from one conversation he loves what he does, and it's great that he's getting to do it.
Yeah.
Doc's is the kind of comic store that we need more of.
Yes.
Because it's the kind of store that really invites the experienced fans and the newbies to try any of it.
Yeah, the environment's fantastic. It's very open and welcoming. Like when you go in there, like you're not gonna feel out of place. Like everybody, like when we were in there doing our thing, people were just like randomly coming up and talking to us. She's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you filming for?" Like, "Oh, you guys have a show, blah, 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 blah." And then it just turned into, like, when we got off camera and just started talking with everybody, it's like, "What are you guys reading? Like, what do you do for hobbies? Like, do you play? Do you do this? Do you do that?"
Yep.
Like, "Oh, yeah, you guys should come up because we do, like, instructional nights on these nights where you can actually come and learn to play the game."
Which is actually something that I am very impressed by. Not enough game stores actually have the opportunity to learn the games. Plenty of them will host games.
Right.
But that opportunity to actually come and the whole night's just for learning about that game and trying out the different things that they have, that there's not enough of, and I greatly appreciate that, especially because they have that for not just Magic but for D&D. They have that for Pokemon.
Which I finally started playing D&D.
Now I need to actually start.
My first roll.
Yes, I know. I need to.
As Kyla really freaks out over that. Yeah. So my first roll was a nat 1.
That seems terribly appropriate.
That was dope. My next roll was a nat 20.
Yeah. Sure.
So it was literally like Kyla was our DM, and she was like, "Cool. So you rolled a nat 1 trying to jump behind this stand for cover, so you trip and fall and hit your head and take 2 damage. I was like, "What? What kind of crap is this?" She's like, "Well, that's what happens when you roll a nat 1. And then so my next turn comes up and I roll a nat 20 after I say that I basically want to pop out from cover and shoot this dude in the face. I was like, "Yeah, I want to shoot him in the face." Roll the nat 20. She's like, "Cool, so you hit him directly in the eye." And he took... Okay, well, he's dead.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, we got, was it?
Liza.
Oh, Liza. Boardwalk, Boardwalk over in Addison.
Yeah.
Fun place. And then
Common
Ground Games. Cool. Yeah, no, there are a few great places around, but I mean, there's always room for more.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
and honestly, it is a little bit sad to me that generally comic and game stores, from a financial standpoint, are one of the more difficult businesses that you can have in a place as big as this, because our community needs more places to be able to go and experience that type of community.
Yeah. That's what I say. It's all about growing the community.
Yeah, that's why I, for one, will always be up for plugging all the great places just so that people can keep paying attention to them.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
especially if we have good experiences there.
Oh yeah. So the next, so that was on July 6th. And then right after that, we, over at July 27th and 28th, we went to the Galactic Swag Expo over in Arlington.
Yes.
And that was
the one that was at the
the esports arena.
Yeah.
And that was a new one for us. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
It's a newer convention that is still going through its growing pains, still trying to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up, and we'll have a few bumps along the way, but for the most part, they're headed in the right direction, and they have been able to get quite a few good guests and some very interesting attractions.
Yes.
So
yeah, that was a really cool. Like you said, it's a newer one. It was kind of a little bit smaller, but I mean, we literally got to talk to like everybody that was there. Like, that's not an exaggeration. We got to talk to everybody that was there.
It was awesome.
And we'll actually come back to that here in a minute.
Because somebody that we met there, we got to do another thing with later.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But yeah, that was actually a convention that Scarlet Muse Cosplay and B Charlotte D both got us into.
God, and neither one would stop harassing us all weekend. Jesus, so awful.
Yeah. We're actually really glad though that they both mentioned it, because it was a
really fun experience, for sure.
So then, after that, we did another event over at Docks. That was on July 31st.
Yeah, that was a New Comic Wednesday.
Yep.
So we had new comic releases, and then they also talked about, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, I think House of X and Powers of 10, the X-Men crossover had just started or was about to hit.
Just started.
Yeah, I think they were they were into issue 1 or 2 of each of them.
Already 1 for each, and they were getting ready to release 2, I think.
DC had Event Leviathan going on, and then there was a bunch of other really good comics that were coming out around the time.
Deceased had just started, and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed just getting to sit down with Doc and go through all of the cool things that were new releases and get his take on everything. Yeah. So especially the new games that had just come out.
Yeah, because we did a lot on tabletop games for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, back to the Galactic Swag Expo. One of the guests that we got to meet there, didn't really have a chance to interview her at the convention, but we got in contact with her, was Gigi Edgley. She is awesome. So for those of you that ever watched the show Farscape on Sci-Fi, she was the alien crew member Chiana. For those of you who have not seen Farscape, shame on you. It is one of the best cheesy sci-fi shows from the early 2000s, and you need to go see it.
I just remember I was off with one of our friends, Chris, looking at something, talking to somebody, and I bumped back into you. You're like, cool, I just got Gigi Edgley's phone number. We're going to set something up for her later in the month. I was like, what? Like, we're allowed to do that? What? And then the next thing I know is I'm over here while you're on a work trip. Like, you are walking me through literally, okay, so if this doesn't work, this is how you're going to try to cancel that out by doing this, like, to get it set up so that we could basically Skype interview her and her brother Jake.
Yeah, so this was the first Skype interview that we've ever done, and it was also the biggest thing all year that had the most chance of going wrong, because I found out
I had to do everything.
Yeah, I found out a little bit late that the same day that we're going to be doing the interview, I was going to be literally out of the country for my day job. So that didn't go well.
I thought I did fine.
No, my part.
Oh, okay.
But hey, you pulled it off, and it actually turned out to be one of the best interviews that we did all year.
I come in clutch when I need to.
Yeah. So no, we had a chance to interview Gigi and her brother Jake, and they were getting ready to go on a big musical tour for the summer.
And where did it end?
Dragon Con.
Yes, thank you.
Over at Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and Kyla, you did help a lot with that, so thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so that was awesome. Once again, we'll be linking that down in the description below over on YouTube. If you have not seen it, check it out after we're done here. Yeah. So then we, real quick, we did the Let's Play Gaming Expo, which was a lot of fun. You missed out.
I did the year before. That was a lot of fun. I missed out. This was the one
over in Las Colinas.
Right, but this was that weekend that for God knows whatever reason, like, I broke out in hives out of nowhere. Like, that morning that we were supposed to get together, I wake up and I get out of the shower and I just look and I'm just, like, covered. I was like, hey man, so not gonna make it.
Very smooth.
No. No, I had to go get, like, 2 steroid shots and,
No.
like, was popping antihistamines
No.
just so I could go back to work 2 days later.
But we got a chance to interview just about every voice actor that was there.
Right.
Because they were doing the special anniversary event for Borderlands. They were also doing a special anniversary event for the movie The Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And they were also doing a special anniversary event for Rampage.
Yeah.
So it was so awesome. No, we got to do a lot there, and there's actually still content that we are putting out from that. In fact, from the Let's Play Gaming Expo to the end of the year, there's still interviews from just about every one of those events that are still coming out because we just got so much. Like, we literally overdid it on content.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Which we'll learn for this year.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Hopefully.
We'll see. But then after that was Anime Fest. So that was August 17th and 18th.
That was my first one.
And yeah, I went there last year. You went there for the first time this year. Or 2019. Yeah. So last year,
this
technically.
past year.
Officially. And it was
a lot
awesome.
of fun. It was hectic.
Yeah, so for anybody that thinks that anime or a con is too big and just too much in general for them, but still wants to be able to have that really fun anime experience, Anime Fest honestly is the convention that I personally would recommend, just because it's a lot easier to dive into the anime community at Anime Fest.
So I thought it was crazy that the first time we went to Fan Expo, they had the big, like, cosplay is not consent banners. And then I saw the
blue person.
The blue person at Anime Fest, that's the cutout, that literally shows the point of your body that you have to have covered.
In detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they gave detailed descriptions next to it, saying how much was required as the minimum.
I did not think I would read no underboob showing at a convention.
Oh yeah, no, it was. It's definitely one of the more heavily mocked aspects of the convention.
And really, what does this country come to when you can't show underboob at a convention?
Well, to be fair, during the daytime, Anime Fest is a family event. After dark, different story.
Yeah, that's true. So we did leave.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
it's still not quite Dragon Con levels of openness after dark, but it's close enough.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was awesome. Had a lot of fun with our friends there.
Yes.
Eventually, you'll get to see a bit of the chaos that happened
drunken
after hours.
Jesus.
Yeah, there was a lot of chaos that happened after hours just because we could. So eventually, you'll get to see that. Yeah, and
hopefully more.
Thank you, Dee and Lars, for that because yeah.
And hopefully more underboob next year. This year.
Anyway. You
can edit that in post, right?
And then we had the Dallas Public Library Creative Spaces opening on September 14th, which was another surprise event for us. The Dallas Public Library's downtown branch reached out to us to do a live show in one of their new spaces that they were opening up for digital creators, which was awesome. And while we didn't get to actually live stream it because the internet connection there wasn't as great as we needed it to be, we did have a live audience.
Yes.
And
yeah, which was cool.
Yeah.
Took questions from the live audience, have interactions. That was a really dope experience because because a couple of the librarians were like, yeah, we listen to you guys regularly, and like we wanted, like, y'all were our only choice to come on and do this.
Yeah, it turns out during the course of their research trying to find some local podcasters to bring in, a few of their librarians became fans of ours and just had to have us.
And we're still not sure why.
I mean, we can be fun and charming when we want to. Sort of.
So the impeachment process.
Jeez. Okay, so then after that, we did Dallas Fan Days, which was the last big event that we covered.
Right.
That still has a ton of content that we are putting out.
That was that second to last weekend of October, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Or second to last weekend in October.
That was busier than we were expecting.
Yeah.
So much got crammed into that weekend, but we had a lot of fun. We got to meet a lot more people than we were expecting.
Yeah.
And
we debuted a new segment for our interviews, which hopefully will carry over.
It'll be nice, yeah.
Yeah. The hell did we call it again?
Lightning round.
There we go. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, we got to. Yeah, you guys are going to enjoy those interviews. In fact, one of the interviews from that convention is actually going to be the next video that gets posted for this coming Friday, which was Marla's interview.
Ah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was so much fun.
I do want to go back to the lightning round. That was my baby. I came up with it. You're welcome. And you're welcome, world.
So,
but that whole segment gave us one of the greatest questions ever,
which we will save for you to see because we do not want that to be spoiled.
I learned what kind of horrible people there are in the world.
Horrible. I personally thought awesome, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
So then the last big thing that we did for the year was the best slasher films of all time, which was a live stream that we did with our buddy David, which was the thing that went.
And what's the name of
2 hours plus.
What's the name of David's show?
That would be I should know this.
The Last Call.
The Last Call. Thank you.
It's sports, pop culture, that kind of stuff. Go listen if you're not. It's a really good listen, and he is one of our very good friends.
I mean, I can't recommend the sports part of it, but I can always recommend David's part because
we know you can't. You didn't play real
David's
sports
awesome.
Growing up. It's fine. Marching band and swimming aren't sports. Yes. Hashtag shots fired. Hashtag deal with it.
Anyway, moving on to because we've gone over time for this section of
kind of like how we went over
conversation.
For the top 10 slasher films.
So next up, very very quickly, so we can save time.
Yeah.
We would be remiss in talking about 2019 if we did not talk about our opinions on the best moments in nerdy cinema.
Correct.
And once again, this is our opinion because we have other jobs and lives and families, and we didn't have a chance to see everything. So unfortunately, we cannot give a definitive list. And so if there is a movie that or movie moment that we leave off this that you think deserves to be on it, don't blame us. We'll probably get around to it eventually.
Or you can put it in the comments and we can go back and take a look at it.
That would be helpful. But to start off with, the big movies that absolutely have to be pointed out was Glass, the much anticipated sequel of M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable now trilogy.
Yeah, I was about to say it was the conclusion and the sequel to Split, which was a surprise sequel to Unbreakable.
Yeah, it was.
Spoilers, by the way, but I mean, it's been 3 years.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like the spoiler warning is lifted on that one.
Yeah. M. Night basically made his comic book movie. He made his comic book universe,
which was well done.
Yes.
Split was well done. Glass, I thought, was just okay. There were things that could have been improved with just pacing, but honestly, I don't have that big of a problem with it.
No.
I think it was still a good movie, and it was a massive accomplishment for his library of work.
I loved Glass. Like, Glass signified that he is back, and he can basically do whatever the hell he wants.
Then, of course, there was Aleta Battle Angel, which you want to talk about a massive feat of technology for modern cinema. It wasn't the same kind of leaps and bounds improvements that Avatar was when it first came out, but some of the things that they did in order to make Alita the movie it was did still drastically push forward CGI technology and
and
quality.
isn't that weird that Cameron produced this one?
No, it was...
He wanted to direct it, but he just couldn't fit it in, so Robert Rodriguez did it, which... I really liked Alita. Like, I really liked it.
Then, of course, there was the third How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. I still need to see it.
I have it in the plastic still on my dresser. Like, I need to sit down and watch it because I loved the first two.
But but I mean, honestly, we could not.
But I don't.
We could not do this list without mentioning it, just because the How to Train Your Dragon franchise overall has been so fantastic.
Really good. But I don't want to cry like
the official, I think, official conclusion to the franchise.
As far as we know, this was like it was billed as the final movie.
It's honestly, it needs to be mentioned.
I don't want to cry like a bitch, and I know I'm going to.
Oh, I almost definitely will too. But then there was the first Marvel outing for the year, which was Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay movie, honestly.
I liked it.
It was the weakest contribution to Phase 3, but considering all of the great movies that were part of Phase 3, that is kind of a hard thing to say that weakest actually means bad.
And let's be real, I don't necessarily know if it had that big of a shot with what was to come.
Yeah, and honestly, the only complaint I have about it is the direction in the movie. You could definitely tell that if you are a fan of cinematography, you could tell that the director on this movie was very green and inexperienced with this type of production. Because there were a lot of very simple, very basic camera setups that didn't necessarily fit the action on screen. But beyond that, I thought the writing was okay. I thought it was a fun addition to the lore, and I was just glad to finally see Captain Marvel brought in because there's a lot that can be done with that character. So it was good. Then, of course, the original Captain Marvel, whose name had to be changed because of copyright issues back in the day.
His name is Shazam, sir.
So that was the first big win for DC outside of Wonder Woman. Like it was the second movie to prove a pattern that DC was finally starting to figure it out.
I remember you and me seeing the first trailer and like, God, this could be so bad if it takes itself too seriously. And thankfully it didn't. Like, it was really fun, it was really goofy, but like, I mean, there were serious moments. But like, it felt like the first reviews that I remember reading were like, it's big with superheroes. And I'd watch it and halfway through I was like, holy crap, like it is big with superheroes. Like, this is great.
Yeah, honestly, I will watch anything that Zachary Levi's in. I've been a fan of his since Chuck, and it's just, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he can do just about any kind of acting he wants. I loved him in season 2 of Mrs. Maisel. The marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon. Go see it if you haven't already. Awesome show. But I'll watch anything he's in. I think he's great, and good job on him for taking this role.
Do you know the gods that make up the acronym Shazam?
Do we have time to go over that?
Can you do it real quick?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm less versed in Shazam's lore than some of the other DC characters. It's a thing, and I know I still need to watch the movie all the way through. I've only seen bits and pieces online because timing. But yeah, then of course Avengers Endgame, which
I'll tell you I'm off camera. Yeah.
it's awesome. Just there's not enough time for us to do a proper analysis on this.
No.
But it was
11 years, 22 movies in the making. It was the build up to an event. A lot of people complained that it was just fan service.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No, honestly,
It was a coherent story. It still told a really good story. So what if there was fan service in there?
honestly,
This is
when
for
taken,
the fans.
When taken in conjunction with Avengers Infinity War, those two movies created what was the perfect, in my mind, the perfect big comic book event brought to the screen.
This was
Like it felt like it had all the right beats, it had all the right imagery, it had all the right everything, and the fact that, just like with Infinity War, Endgame brought in the directors of each of the individual superhero movies to help advise and direct the scenes with their characters. It just goes back to show that there's a lot of heart in Marvel Studios, and there is a lot of thought that's gone into the
100%.
storytelling.
This is the first time that I went into a movie like this is an event.
Yeah.
And there have been other movies like epics and that kind of stuff, but this was the first one that you had a decades plus build to a singular movie.
Yeah. And it was worth the wait for me.
Oh God,
It was absolutely worth the wait for me.
I remember not reading any spoilers. I remember
Which was so hard.
I left work early. I should have told people, I was like, my phone's off. Don't call me. I am dead to the world as soon as I walk into that theater.
Yeah.
And I threatened to beat the living hell out of a couple of 14-year-olds because they're texting and their phones were going off before the movie started. And I was just like, all right, buddy, let's you and me have a little talk.
Yeah. So then, after Avengers Endgame, there was Detective Pikachu, which turned out a lot better than I think just about anybody was expecting.
There was a lot of
There's a lot of
you haven't seen
wariness.
it yet, have you?
No,
Okay,
but
we watched it the other night.
yeah, there's a lot of wariness going into that movie.
It was the first live action Pokemon attempt, and it was like, oh, this could be really bad. This could be really bad. This could be really bad. And then halfway through, we're sitting there looking at each other like, this is really good. This is a lot of fun. This is dope. And then you get to the end, and you're like, okay, I just watched Mewtwo basically completely and totally rip apart an entire downtown city. I'm okay with this.
And the fact that they brought in Ryan Reynolds to voice Pikachu. I mean, obviously his success with Deadpool was a massive contributing factor to them choosing him, but at the same time, I'm okay with this.
Right.
Once again, Ryan Reynolds is somebody that I will never have a problem with whatever they choose to cast him as, in whatever. I'm good getting more Ryan Reynolds.
Right. I don't know if the world can have enough Ryan Reynolds.
I don't think it's possible.
No.
As long as we don't end up having a repeat of Green Lantern, I think we're okay. Or Blade Trinity. Although, to be fair, he was one of the best parts of that movie. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
we don't. Yeah, that was.
Still,
he didn't have much to work with.
Still one of my favorite insults of all time. We don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about the X-Men Origins. There's no need. The movie that bombed so hard, the idea to have multiple origin movies just died from Fox. Yeah, don't need to talk about that.
Although we can say thank you for X-Men Origins Wolverine, because I don't think we get First Class or Days of Future Past without that movie.
True. That's true. And of course, John Wick 3.
God, the John Wick movies are so fun. It's just Keanu Reeves murdering people for 2 hours. It is the best.
Which what more do you need out of your movie?
You
honestly. Granted, I think Keanu Reeves has really come into his own acting wise for just about all genres that he wants to do, but lately his action movies have been top notch.
They're so fun.
Although his comedy actually works out very well.
Yes, it does.
I'm blanking on the name of the movie, but did you see that movie on Netflix that Ali Wong did? His part there was just.
And we're finally gonna get Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how that is. That's one I'm a little concerned about, just because of how long it's been, but I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
No.
Then we had Spider-Man Far From Home, the second Spider-Man edition in the MCU. The last Spider-Man movie that came out prior to the big knockdown drag-out that may have been staged between Sony and Disney. We'll see.
I blame Sony.
Well, I blame all parties involved in that one, but
no blame goes to Disney. I blame Sony.
But I mean, it was a fantastic movie. We've already talked about this in a review already, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But overall, liked what they did with the characters. I thought
I loved Gyllenhaal so much.
It was a little sad that Ned didn't get enough screen time, in my opinion. But what screen time he did get was fantastic.
I got to see Jake Gyllenhaal in a Marvel movie, especially after all those
totally
years.
Worth it.
After all those years where he was supposed to take over in Spider-Man 2 after Tobey busted his back up filming Seabiscuit, but then Tobey was able to tough it out and give us Spider-Man 2.
Totally worth it.
God, yes it was.
But yeah, no, that was. He has actually become my favorite MCU villain, honestly.
Mine's still Iron Man.
We definitely don't have time to get into that debate.
But just real quick before we move on, I really like the emotional weight that they let him play with in Far From Home. Like, the character did a lot of growing.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't just this kid anymore. Like, he's a kid, but it was like you
saw
finally
him
felt the emotional weight of everything that he was taking on.
Yeah. And one of my top 5 favorite cameos in the MCU. At the end.
Ah, yes.
J. Jonah Jameson's back.
Yes.
And seriously,
Spider-Verse confirmed?
What more could you ask for, honestly?
I want a Spider-Verse. I want Tobey on the big screen again.
Speaking of Spider-Verse, they just announced the studies that they're doing in Spider-Verse 2. That's what my face was for.
Oh, the animated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they better.
Yeah,
I mean, the first one was so awesome.
Right.
But yeah, so then there was Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, It Chapter 2.
So good. It Chapter 2 was fantastic.
Joker, which I still really, really like.
Yeah, Joaquin's probably going to get an Oscar for it, let's be real.
He already got a Golden Globe for it,
right.
And honestly, it was well earned.
There was stuff that I really liked in it, there was stuff that I was just very meh about, if we're being honest.
I will say that, for me, the thing that won me over on that movie is the fact that from start to finish, while watching that movie, I felt just incredibly uncomfortable watching just everything that was happening to Joaquin Phoenix's character, to him, with him, like all of it. I don't usually get like very openly uncomfortable watching scenes in movies, especially not that prolonged, but that movie I did, and that was one of the best things I could have walked away feeling, because that's exactly what they were trying to get you to feel.
Right.
I loved it. But no. Then there was Frozen 2, because of course there was.
Wasn't as good as the first one, still fun. Music wasn't as good as the first one, I didn't think, but I really liked it. Don't give me that look. Nothing beats Let It Go.
And then there was...
What about your 1980s rock ballad?
Oh god, that was so great though. But yeah, they had an 80s rock ballad in it, like music video style rock ballad and everything. It was greatness.
Of course.
And then we get to the big one.
Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. I know this is going to push us over time for this section, because we already are. So much for 15 minutes on movies. But
I blame you.
We need to spend at least a couple minutes talking about this one. Okay, so...
Do we want to... I feel like we can do an entire hour on this one movie.
We can, so we're going to need to keep this incredibly brief, because we just need to do an actual video on this.
Agreed.
But the highlights are essentially... I thought it was an okay movie, but due to the complicated nature of the storytelling issues, we'll say, between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, when Rise of Skywalker came in, it had a bigger job to do for a single movie than any movie of any length could have ever accomplished. And honestly, I really wish they had come back and been willing to say, we're going to split this up into 2 movies, so this is no longer a trilogy, but it's needed to help things make sense. Because the first half of the movie, they just rushed through a lot of backstory that had to be put in to help make up for the lack of that backstory being in The Last Jedi. Yeah, there were a lot of technically good cinematic things that happened with The Last Jedi, but regarding the overall story arc, I think looking back, it was the biggest hindrance, and now we saw what that resulted in. Especially because the studio was so stuck on the fact that this had to be a trilogy. If it didn't have to be a trilogy, and they could have added, made this into 2 movies, maybe even another 3 movies, and made it, a 4 or 5 movie arc, then maybe it could have been different.
So Rise of Skywalker felt like it was trying to be 2 movies at once. We can do an entire hour on this. I don't think... God, how do I want to say this?
No cursing.
Yeah, right. Look, for everything that happened with this new trilogy, and people have been crapping all over J.J. Abrams and Disney and this and that. Hot take. I still think this is better than anything that Lucas has done with Star Wars in the last 30 years, and that includes the prequel trilogy, and that includes Revenge of the Sith.
How dare you?
I know.
Revenge of the Sith was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, very wooden acting, just like all the prequels, but it was still a fantastic movie.
Was it?
Yes.
Was it really? As a movie?
Yes.
Okay.
I will defend the cinematography on that movie. I will defend the fight choreography as some of the best lightsaber choreography in the entire franchise. I will defend the story because it was actually a well thought through way to end that trilogy. Was the dialogue really rough and clunky? Yeah. Was the chemistry between the leads
non-existent? Yes.
Yeah. Was that absolutely George's fault? Kinda, yeah. Because it's really hard to be able to get emotion from very method actors if there is no set that they are playing to. Which honestly, now seeing what Scorsese did with The Irishman, and how he was able to do all the CGI for that without forcing the actors to work in a CG environment.
Yep.
I have issues with it, but whatever.
I will say, we need to do a video just for it by itself, because I have way too much to say.
Yeah, okay. So then,
Wait, no, go back. Did she say what I just...
Yes, she did. Liza, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I hate that argument, because that essentially means that creators cannot be criticized when they make crap. George Lucas, for 30 years, sat on his hands and basically let other creators make the expanded universe and make better stuff. And then when he came back to Star Wars and made the prequel trilogy, he made crap.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a longer conversation. So we're going to come back to this later. Doing the abbreviated version of what we were going to talk about, the last topic for the day, the top moments in nerdy entertainment, or nerdy adjacent entertainment. We have to start off with the obvious, Disney Plus.
And everybody's favorite meme. No, Disney now officially pretty much rules the world at this point.
Kinda, yeah.
Let's be real. Disney
For
Plus,
better or worse.
Disney Plus owns half of Hulu, just bought 20th Century Fox. Sorry, 20th Century Studios.
Because Fox is dead now.
Fox is dead. Long live the mouse.
But yeah.
The fox is dead and the mouse is standing over his carcass.
But yeah, no, it was... Disney Plus has a lot of potential. And I honestly like the fact that it is the first streaming service to break from the norm of the rest of them. Yes. With their release schedules. And they're willing to go back to the weekly rather than the binge release. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And honestly, the more comparisons I've heard to the level of attention that The Mandalorian got for its season because of its release schedule compared to the attention that the third season of Stranger Things got because of its release schedule.
Season 3 was amazing.
I understand and appreciate more Disney's decision, because if you think about it, while Stranger Things was a great series, half the people that were going to watch it binged it within a week or weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, I did.
So conversation about it ended up fizzling off by a month later, whereas The Mandalorian was getting released for over a month.
True.
And the conversation's still going on about it.
Very true.
So it's really hard to argue with it, because they proved their point just based on conversations.
Now it'll be interesting to see. They're going to need more original content to keep the life of Disney Plus going.
Yes.
Especially since they're also fighting with other streaming services about who has the rights for what and blah 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 blah. But it's a pretty promising start. Like, it's a very promising start.
Yeah. So, speaking of streaming services in general, this year we saw so many of them.
Well, we also saw, we not just saw so many of them start, we saw so many of them announced for the future.
And we saw changes to the ones that have been around. Like we saw Netflix actually putting effort into placing some of their original movies in theaters.
Right.
We saw Hulu actually putting out more new original content that was getting like critical attention.
Right.
We saw Amazon Prime putting out content that was getting some massive names involved. We even saw the announcement of NBC has their own that was just announced.
NBC announced the Peacock.
Apple TV announced a mass of new content.
HBO Max is coming.
HBO Max is coming. And then, of course,
CBS Plus.
And the now officially failed DC Universe, which is
DC
being
TV.
rolled into HBO Max.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah.
That lasted all of a year.
But
Good job, Warner Brothers.
they have actually put out some good content on it.
Young Justice Season 3.
And apparently Doom Patrol, which I still need to watch.
Doom Patrol's really, from what I understand, Doom Patrol's really good.
But
Titans wasn't.
I continued to hear that Titans is, yet again, still considered the bottom of the barrel
It's
for
trying too
superhero
hard.
shows.
It's trying too hard to be cool and edgy.
Which,
But
it's the TV equivalent of the Justice League movie. It's proof that when Warner Brothers tries to have too much influence over how that narrative is shaped, that is going to fail.
Yep. Agreed.
So, but yeah, no, streaming services have been a big thing. It's getting a little annoying having to pay for another streaming service and then another one and another one. And
It'll be really interesting to see if this brings back cable.
so I don't think it's going to bring back like cable proper. I think it's going to bring back the online equivalent.
So here's the
with
thing:
packages between different streaming services.
well, so like when they actually break down, like if you're buying all of these streaming services, like you are literally paying almost double than what you would for cable.
It's just really frustrating that the original Netflix model of being the third-party service that caters to all the other content has fallen to the wayside because studios got too greedy and just couldn't accept that they weren't the ones getting 100% of the profits.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating as a consumer. But for the amount of content that we're getting, I think that as a consumer of this content, this may have been the best year for new original content that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Movies, TV shows, all of it.
Yeah.
So, and then of course don't forget the push for YouTube TV that, you know, YouTube Premium got rebranded as, and it became all a thing.
I agree. Kyla, I agree.
Then of course there was the Fox acquisition by Disney, which...
The fox is dead. Long live the mouse.
For better or worse, it's happening. And I will say for better or worse, because I do understand the business argument against Disney owning everything.
I do.
I even understand the creative argument against it.
I don't. 20th Century Fox has been putting out crap for a while.
Well, no,
Let's be real.
I understand the creative argument against a mass consolidation of the major studios, which now will, by its very nature, limit the amount of creativity that is happening and diversity within that creativity.
I mean, that's true.
Like, I get it, but
That's true, but...
at the same time, so far they haven't really disappointed with what they're doing,
Nope.
and as long as they are willing to continue to uphold the responsibility that they have taken on by taking all of this content, all of this creativity under their umbrella, as long as they take that seriously, I'm okay with it for now.
I agree.
But
I agree. I speak no ill words of the mouse.
Well,
Long live the mouse.
we don't have a we don't have enough clout to speak ill of the mouse publicly. That's just not happening.
No,
So
we don't speak ill of the mouse.
Hi, Lars. Disney's always been the empire. Well, yeah.
Long live the Empire, then. Not gonna hear me talk bad of the mouse.
And yes, we absolutely do need to hang out more.
Agreed.
But yeah, so what else?
What else is next?
There was the Blizzard backlash.
So do we get to talk politics now?
So this does need to become a bit of its own video thing as well.
So
Esports and Blizzard's decision to try to placate China and at the, admonishment of Hong Kong.
I mean, the NBA did it too, so we can't really say anything. Looking at you, LeBron, you punk.
We're not getting into the specifics about the politics behind it.
So let's just say it got very messy.
The fact that we have a major game developer go out and trying to take a political stance against the political stance of one of its biggest
now they
gamers.
argued that they don't let people use their platforms for political stances no matter what, but still, this was...
It was a bad call on their part.
The optics of it were really bad.
It was a bad call on their part when they took away the prize money.
Yes.
Because it's one thing to say that as an organization, we do not want the winners or the players in our tournament, whatever, to be stating their political opinions through our tournament.
Right.
That's fine. Honestly, that is their prerogative. However, the second that organization then tries to take away properly earned prize money because an opinion was stated, rather than simply barring them from future competition, that's where a line has been crossed, because that prize money was earned.
Yep.
And you can't just do whatever you want with their money.
Apparently they can.
Well, they gave it back.
I know.
But still, that's where Blizzard crossed the line for a lot of people. Like, if they had just said that we do not want you to be spreading your political opinions, regardless of what they are, through our tournaments, I don't think as many people would have had a problem with it.
Yeah.
I think it's the second they took that prize money, that's when they shot themselves in the foot. And even though they are at an all-time high for their public relations right now, I think that is going to continue to see ramifications into this year.
Well, it can't be as bad as the next companies.
EA? Yeah, well...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we have to say that much about EA, because EA is just well known to be a terrible, terrible company.
They at least let Respawn do whatever they wanted with Star Wars, Fallen Order,
for now,
with Apex.
For now, yeah. But let's never forget the mass debacle that was loot boxes, or
what they did to
shutting down BioWare essentially entirely.
Yeah.
Or pretty much every other studio that they have purchased and gutting them because they could.
Yeah.
And let's not even begin to run into the Anthem issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. EA can suck it.
Yeah. Moving right along. So back to politics. Because that's a way cheerier subject.
Esports.
Esports blew up big last year.
That was, yeah.
It had been blowing up, but last year, like, you really saw, like, they're showing, like, esports is now covered on ESPN, TNT, TBS.
Like, ESPN proper, not ESPN 2, 3, 4, 5, like, the main ESPN.
Yeah, like, they're showing the Overwatch League every Saturday night. Like,
that's insane.
That's dope.
But, yeah, and the fact that the purses for the winners are getting to be so massive, and the sponsors that are getting in on this. I mean, when you can say that Coca-Cola, Lexus, and Mercedes are sponsors for gaming tournaments, and it's no longer just sponsors who are
like local.
Their business model is already directly tied into gaming in the first place, like Nvidia.
Right.
That's when you've made it. Like there's a lot to be said for what esports future is.
The NBA has teams that have created a 2K esports league, and they did a draft. Like, all of the teams literally did a draft and put the Dallas Mavericks esports team, their facility is at the Mavs practice facility.
Cowboys.
No. The Mavs, their practice facility is the same is housed in the same building as the actual team's practice facility.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was the Cowboys practice facility has esports.
The Star
organization.
has the Star is partnered with Complexity.
GameStop for one,
Yeah.
and then Complexity.
Why would you say that company? Nobody here works for them.
Well, because it was one of their big announcements before Fan Expo last year.
Yeah, Complexity is partnered up, and Complexity's headquarters is at the Star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
It's
so
huge.
there is a big crossover between actual sports and mainstream, like, sports, and now esports, to the point where colleges are offering esports scholarships and have esports teams now.
That's big. Like, I don't know what more could be said about it.
Yeah.
And then there was the closing of Marvel TV, which, just very briefly, Marvel TV has officially been wrapped up under
Hey, Brett, I think you skipped something.
MCU. And what did I skip?
Well, it's just 3 letters. Do you want to read them?
AEW.
All Elite Wrestling. Oh, I am so happy. Oh, I am so happy. Y'all don't understand how big of a deal this is. There is finally a legitimate competition for the WWE in North America. This is such a big deal. Oh, they launched in October. They've been going solid ever since. They actually just signed a 5-year extension with TNT. They're going to be on TNT for the next 5 years. This is a big deal. I will super kick you. So hard.
You and I both know that you can't raise your leg that
You're
high.
sitting in a chair. Yes, I can.
Really?
You're sitting in a chair, and it's at its lowest height setting. Yes, I can.
I don't even think you could kick me in the shin. Let's be very fair here.
No, he can orange capitate it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Wow. Moving right along. Then of course.
But yes, AEW is a big deal.
Yeah, and then the final
Okay.
thing, because it's one of the platforms we're on, YouTube has gone through some massive changes thanks
Do you
to.
want to go back over to the Marvel TV?
It wasn't really much to say. It was brought
It's-
under Marvel Studios.
it kinda-
Now Feige runs it all.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, though, that they're not 2 separate divisions anymore.
Yeah, but at the same time, at
But
least now this gives them the opportunity to finally be acknowledged by the movies, and the movies to, and for them to be able to acknowledge the movies.
So that's true. My main concern is that they get lost in the shuffle without having a proper division to actually run them.
We'll see.
That's my main concern.
We'll see. But yeah, so YouTube has gone through some massive changes thanks to a lot of legislative talk over in the EU, and then some other conversations here in the States.
Damn European Union ruining everything for everybody.
So the first biggie was the EU coming in and trying to have a mass sweeping copyright law revision, which affected YouTube, because now the EU can directly sue YouTube for copyright infringements rather than the individual creators.
Which I think is just...
It's insane.
Yeah.
And then over here on the state side, thanks to TikTok and the issue that came up with their predecessor Musical.ly, YouTube had to institute some new changes about how videos specifically made for kids are handled because of COPPA.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it has changed how content has to be addressed, especially on YouTube, especially if you're trying to get advertisers involved.
Dude, look, and some of them are worrying because some of them, like, YouTube kind of has a history of kind of making up stuff as they go. Which is a little disconcerting.
So it's less about that they make it up as they go. It's more about they are really bad at communicating the rules that they've made, making sure that everybody's aware.
That's a better way to put it.
And when certain rules are finally publicly announced, it's like, it seems like it's a new thing because it was never widely known.
Right.
But officially, it had been on the books for a while. They just made sure that it was in, Chapter 10, subsection 5, paragraph 8 of Article
D.
27D.
Yeah.
That you were never going to be finding on your own, looking through the terms of service for YouTube. But it was there, technically.
It's a little disconcerting when their terms of service are like so in depth that you basically need a lawyer to go through them with you.
I mean, they are getting better about communicating. So far, we've never had issues with any of our videos in YouTube's policies. We've had issues with the... Okay, fair.
Yep.
We've had issues with the copyright system because that still needs a mass overhaul. But overall, it's... Yeah, no, we've done well with YouTube as a platform. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens next, and I think we could do.
2020.
I think we have a lot of potential still with YouTube and all the other online platforms, but
well, 2020 is going to be a
happens.
big year for online content creators. Just like you said, with everything that the European Union is trying to put in place and legislation over there, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens and how easy or difficult it becomes for small-time creators, us, to get our content out there and not have it hit by some kind of obscure policy breach or this and that, and then having to basically jump through hoops to get it taken care of.
Which, basically, going back to how we started this whole stream, is part of why we are wanting to spend this year pulling back on how often we put out content and focusing more on the business.
Yes.
Because in order for us, just like all other online creators, to be a successful online company, there has to be more time put into figuring out how to make money without requiring advertisers, without requiring YouTube to pay us in any way.
Yeah.
And if it happens to work out that we can get money from YouTube directly, awesome. But just like with even the major creators out there, that is no longer the safest bet.
Right.
So, yeah. But for now, we shall see what happens.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. So 2019 was a year. It was a bit of a year. A lot happened.
That is a factual statement. Yes.
A lot happened there, and I mean, honestly, as much of a dumpster fire year as it was as a whole, we personally had fun, and we
name
had a
one
good
bad
year.
thing that happened in 2019.
We promised not to talk politics.
So name one bad thing.
But yeah, no. For us and the show, it was a fantastic year, our best so far, and honestly, I'm looking forward to what happens this year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I guess that's all we can do.
But if you've still stuck around to the end of the video, thank you. Just realize that
your check is in the mail.
Just realize that there is one thing that we should have mentioned at the beginning. But come Monday, we'll be going live one more time.
Yes.
So what's going to happen is we decided that we didn't just want to do a 2019 recap, because as fun as that is, it's not quite enough. So come Monday at 1 p.m. Central Time, we will be going live to do a full decade recap from the 2010s and all the crazy stuff that happened in nerd culture. And there was a lot. There was a lot.
Hey, remember how we said we were going to tone it back and not do as much this year?
Go figure.
Yeah, we're literally breaking that like 2 days later.
Well. Anyway,
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be
so, yeah, if you're still watching.
Hectic and chaotic.
Yep.
But a lot of fun.
If you're still watching, thank you. Don't forget, on Facebook, like us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. So,
That was creepy.
well, remember, that's where the little subscribe icon pops up.
I just, yeah.
I know. With that, though, thank you all for watching, and until Monday.
Until Monday.
This has been Brad Mike with Dallas Geek saying, see ya. And we are out.